Israel would not be so up in arms about the Goldstone report and would not be so upset by it were it not the fact that, yes, they are very vulnerable to public opinion, and they know very well the limits beyond which it may not express itself against them, but where the President of the United States, who does have a constituency, he will begin to feel it, that no, it's going too far. You really have to stop. And then that's their only ally, the Americans. But in different ways. If tomorrow Israel were to attack Gaza again, I think all hell would break loose. I really do. I think they would have a huge problem. I mean, they've been talking, as you know, about Operation Cast Lead too. I don't think they can do it. Right, you mentioned some of the things that Netanyahu is doing. It's not really new. I mean, there are 250,000 settlers in East Jerusalem. He just has the Yitzhak Shamir style, the kind of in-your-face style, which the United States doesn't like. They much prefer the hypocritical style. So when you remember in 1991, there was the $10 billion housing loan that the U.S. was going to give to Israel for the Russian immigration after Madrid. And then Shamir started to carry on with the settlements in this kind of in-your-face way. The U.S. held back the loan, and then the Israelis voted out Shamir because they realized there's a problem with the Americans. We better get rid of him. And they put in power Yitzhak Rabin. All the threats about the withholding of the loan were basically annulled. In the end, the U.S. withheld about $460 million of the $10 billion. It let Rabin expand as much as he wanted in East Jerusalem. They didn't even withhold money for settlement expansion in East Jerusalem. And in fact, Rabin, who we're all told was the last hope for peace, he expanded settlements at a much faster rate than Shamir, just as Ehud Barak expanded settlements at a much faster rate than Netanyahu. It's not a conflict about religious crazies. And if it's crazies, then there's no way to resolve it except through resort to the club. And that's exactly what people like Netanyahu and also the other Israelis, Barak, what they want to convince you of, that this is a civilizational conflict, that this is a religious conflict. They want to convince you of that, because in the face of that, obviously there's no rational basis for a settlement, or there's no basis for a rational settlement. And we have to resist that and not play that game. That's what he's trying to do. As I said, there's a domestic component. He's playing to the religious fundamentalists in Israel. But there's also a bigger agenda. And the bigger agenda is they want to prove this conflict cannot be resolved rationally. It can only be resolved through resort to the club.
But that leads us, if this stalemate continues, that means we will have to wait on other elections in Israel?
No, I just think, just like we have to banish from our vocabulary peace process, and we have to banish from our vocabulary that what happened in Gaza was a war, we have to also banish from our consciousness, our political consciousness, all this talk about elections. It's not going to change anything. What will change things is what we do, those of us who are committed to trying to affect the change, trying to reach public opinion, trying to organize public opinion. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen. But
on this front, how is, for example, the Jews in the United States, what are their positions after Gaza?
Look, there are real prospects here. There are fissures, there are breaks in Jewish public opinion. There's no question, most Jews are liberal. 80% of American Jews vote for Barack Obama. Latinos, it was 67%. And if you factor in income, Jews are by far and away the wealthiest economic group in the United States. They should be voting overwhelmingly Republican. Certainly they should be voting more Republican than Latinos who are poor. But no, they're liberal. And being liberal means, in the U.S. Idiom, being liberal means you believe in the rule of law, you believe in international institutions, you believe in human rights. Amnesty International is a liberal organization. Human Rights Watch is a liberal organization. And so Jews are liberal. And being liberal means believing in things like international law and human rights. And it's become now nearly impossible for American Jews to juggle the two, being pro-Israel and being pro-liberal policies. And you saw that with Goldstone. That's why the Goldstone phenomenon is so interesting. Because Goldstone had the typical personal sensibilities of a liberal Jew. His mother was an activist in the Zionist movement. His daughter did Aliyah, Zionist immigration to Israel. He was in the board of governors of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He has an honorary degree from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He says he's a Zionist. He says he believes that Jews have the right to a state where it is. He's a Zionist. But on the other hand, he's also a liberal. He's a distinguished international jurist, made his career in human rights law, was the chief prosecutor for the war crimes tribunals in Yugoslavia and Rwanda, and so forth. And so now he had to do, it was like his personal, familial background versus his professional, intellectual commitments. And you could imagine he struggled a lot. But at the end, which won out? Well, the side that said Israel has to go to the International Criminal Court because it committed war crimes.
But the Congress said that he wrote this off.
Right, well that's, it depends on what level of society you're looking at. I'm not yet looking at that political level. It's a very tough thing to tackle. That comes, hopefully that will come soon. Right now we're looking at public opinion, and we're looking at Jewish public opinion. We're not yet looking at organized political action, which is Congress, lobbies, and so forth. We're looking at another level, so to speak, the popular level. And the popular level, I think there are real conflicts now in the American and world Jewish community, because Israel went too far. It's just indefensible. You can't be Jewish and a liberal, especially young Jewish and a liberal, go around on a college campus, wearing a t-shirt, go Israel, drop white phosphorus on hospitals. How do you defend that? Israel dropped white phosphorus on Al-Quds Hospital and on Al-Wafa Hospital. Israel blew up ambulances, blew up mosques, blew up hospitals.
Human shields.
Yeah, the human shields. You can't defend it. It's indefensible. So some Jews
becoming a pariah state, for example.
It is becoming a pariah state, but a pariah state is a negative fact. Now you have to transform it into something positive, which is to say, to exert force on Israel to change its policy.